judge shocked after learning the incredible truth about the black man's life-changing leadership. In a small Midwestern town, the chill of winter settled in like a thick blanket, and ominous clouds mirrored the storm brewing within the community. Marcus Johnson, a devoted father and veteran, ran an after-school program for at-risk youth, pouring love into every moment he spent with the kids. But the locals, especially the affluent families, saw him as an outsider. To them, Marcus's background was a barrier, not a bridge. He worked tirelessly, teaching values of respect and determination, yet whispers of doubt clouded his efforts. One evening, as laughter echoed through the gym, tinged with the bounce of basketball, Marcus had no idea that a scathing article about him would soon hit the pages of the town's newspaper. Local hero or fraud? The headline screamed. A mix of shock and outrage surged through the community, with many rallying behind him. Parents and students, who witnessed the heart he poured into the program, stood by his side, creating a sense of unity like never before, yet uncertainty loomed. Marcus's heart raced. Would the judge listen? Silence fell heavy when he entered the courtroom, filled with familiar faces. Before he could share his side, a collective gasp filled the air. Just as he was about to plead his case, an esteemed elder of the town stepped forward, a crinkle of worry etched on his face. This was Pete Travers, a man Marcus had once considered a friend. Years ago, Pete began, voice trembling, Marcus saved my son from a fatal accident. A wave of gasps swept through the room as he recounted that fateful day, the icy lake, the slip, and then Marcus, like a guardian angel, diving in to rescue him. Tears glistened in Marcus's eyes as Pete's words wrapped around him like a warm embrace, revealing not just bravery but a truth that shook the community to its core. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The courtroom buzzed with the weight of revelation. This wasn't just about Marcus anymore, it was about what merit truly meant against the dividing line of privilege. As townsfolk exchanged uneasy glances, the air thickened with a mix of realization and indignation. For too long, they'd let bias guide their decisions. Marcus felt hope ignite in his chest, even as fear lingered. Could this moment inspire a deeper understanding? Would they finally see him for his contributions? As the judge leaned back in his chair, the tension was palpable, a moment frozen in inevitability. With eyes fixed on Marcus, the people were on the brink, their opinions wavering. Would they rise as a community or be anchored by age-old prejudices? In that silence, Marcus stood tall, resolute, ready for whatever came next, knowing that his fight was not just for the program, it was for family, community, and to redefine what it meant to lead. The outcome remained uncertain, leaving hearts racing, breaths held tight. What would become of Marcus and the kids who depended on him? Marcus stood in the courtroom, feeling the weight of countless eyes on him. The murmurs quieted as Pete's story settled into the minds of the townsfolk. Faces transformed, expressions shifting from skepticism to contemplation. This was a turning point, however unreal it seemed. A judge, a community, and a man whose heart ached for justice were all coalescing in one tense moment. The judge cleared his throat, breaking the spell of silence. Mr. Johnson, he said, his voice steady yet reflective, you've dedicated years to this community. Can you explain your vision for the after-school program and why it matters? The question hung in the air, trembling with the weight of what the answer could impart. Well, Your Honor, Marcus began, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. It's not just about keeping kids off the streets. It's about giving them hope. An opportunity to dream where they see only darkness. He paused, searching their faces. With each game we play, each lesson we teach, we show them they matter. We help them build a foundation of respect, self-worth, and teamwork. That's what family and community are about. Some in the audience visibly nodded, their beliefs beginning to shift. Yet, doubt still loomed across the faces of others, pinched and rigid. Marcus pressed on, driven by the urgency of his mission. We're breaking down barriers, learning from each other. My skin color doesn't diminish my ability to lead, help, or inspire. These kids need someone who believes in them, who reflects their struggles and shares in their triumphs. A man in the back stood up, clenching his hands. But can we trust you? What more can you show us? The cynicism cracked through his skepticism. I think I've shown you. I've saved lives. I've been a father to many an ally. Marcus felt his own vulnerability spill over, the fear of rejection gnawing at him. Trust isn't built in grand speeches. It's built in small moments. In after-school practices, late-night talks, and celebrating when a child learns to believe in themselves. Right now, I ask you to give us a chance. At that moment, a young woman in the front row began to cry, tears streaming down her cheeks. Coach Marcus taught me how to stand up for myself. He believed in me when no one else did, she choked out, her voice breaking. Had it come to this? A battle fought not only in the courtroom but in the hearts of people who had long forgotten how to believe in something greater than themselves. The air pulsed with passion, now mixed with resolve. Parents exchanged glances filled with understanding, as if they were peering into a mirror reflecting their own children's futures. This was Marcus's moment. He could not back down now. The judge studied the crowd, then looked at Marcus. We all see you, Marcus Johnson. But will the community stand with you? The room held its breath, an electric tension filling the space. A hand shot up from the back of the court. I do. Shouted one father. One by one, others joined in, voices rising, hearts beating in unison. Would their newfound unity be enough to change the tide? Marcus's eyes welled with tears of relief. But deep inside, he felt the tremors of another battle lurking just outside the courtroom doors. He knew this was far from over. As the judge nodded, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that the real fight was just beginning. Would he be strong enough to lead them forward when doubt crept back in, or could he spark a change that would transcend his struggle? With hope and trepidation entwined, he awaited the judge's decision, feeling the echoes of that fateful question ripple through the air. What would the future hold for Marcus and the children he fought for? The judge took a moment, his brow furrowing as he looked around the courtroom. The noise from the crowd faded into an anxious silence, everyone hanging on his every move. Marcus felt the electricity in the air and it sent shivers down his spine. Hope surged through him, a tidal wave preparing to crash against the shore of uncertainty. Mr. Johnson, the judge finally said, his tone measured but filled with an undercurrent of respect, I want to hear from you, the community. You have a chance to speak for your children now. Marcus turned his gaze to the audience, his eyes scanning the faces of families, friends, and neighbors, some who had once looked away, but now seemed willing to lean in. He felt the ripples of unity growing, they were ready to hear. A young boy near the front tugged on his mother's arm, eyes wide with curiosity. Mom, can we go to Coach's program? He asked, his innocent voice breaking through the quiet like a ray of sunlight piercing clouds. Yes. A mother shouted, her voice firm. My son needs this. He needs to know he is not alone. The murmurs began again, building to a crescendo. Marcus stepped forward, emboldened by the rising tide of support. This isn't just about one program or one man. It's about all of us. Together, we stand for something greater. We stand for the future. For our kids to grow up safe, valued, and understood. The sincerity in his words spread through the room as more hands shot up, voices joining the chorus of support. He could hear a father's gruff voice, full of emotion. Coach Marcus has changed my son's life. He is not just a coach, he is a mentor. He felt the momentum shift like the wind had caught the sails of a ship ready to set sail. Yes. This was the essence he'd fought for, the communal heartbeat that kept everyone alive and connected. The judge interjected, his voice calm yet powerful, "I understand there are still concerns, and those concerns need addressing. But today, I believe in the capacity for change within this room." Marcus held his breath, tension stirring in the air. "Give me a formal proposal, Mr. Johnson," the judge continued, "and I will make it happen. I will advocate for your program." Cheers erupted, a wave of elation washing over them. People stood, clapping and shouting, with the raw emotion that echoed in their hearts. Marcus could hardly find words, astonishment and gratitude filled him. The moment was electric, yet flickering shadows still lingered, like dark corners waiting to be illuminated. Marcus knew connection wasn't just bound by agreement, it was about forging deeper understandings, but in that moment of celebration, Marcus spotted a figure lingering in the doorway. It was Charlie Barker, the man who had come to represent the opposing view. The heavy look on Charlie's face sent a chill down Marcus's spine. "Just because they're cheering now doesn't mean it's over, Marcus," Charlie said, his voice low but piercing, threatening like a storm brewing on the horizon. With those words, Marcus felt the warmth of victory begin to freeze. The real test was still ahead. As he watched Charlie step away, the question loomed. What would he do to fight back against the doubts and fears that still threatened to unravel all he had built? How would he hold fast to the hope blossoming in the hearts around him? The judge's gavel brought him back to the present, and he realized they were just starting to scratch the surface. Would Marcus have what it took to emerge victorious against the challenges brewing just beyond the horizon? Marcus stood in the courtroom, the loud cheers fading into echoes. His chest felt heavy, the throbbing pulse of uncertainty still alive. He glanced around at the faces of those who rallied in support. A sea of hope and fear mingled. Would this tide of positivity hold? Or would it dissipate in the face of resistance? The judge's voice was steady, but Marcus could still feel the weight of the moment. "We need to take this emotion and channel it into real action. I want concrete steps." "Yes. We will." Marcus's determination burned brightly, ignited by the support surrounding him. As the crowd began to settle, murmuring among themselves, Marcus noticed his friend, Carla, at the back, her hands clasped nervously. She had been instrumental in rallying the community, but this was uncharted territory for her too. Sensing her trepidation, Marcus made his way to her. "You okay?" he asked softly, concern etching his features. "I don't know, Marcus. What if Charlie has something up his sleeve? What if they find a way to tear us down? I can't bear to see those kids lose hope." Her voice trembled, a reflection of her fears as she glanced around. "This is the moment we've been waiting for. We can't back down now. You've seen the change in our kids. We've all seen it." He placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Let us turn that fear into fuel." Just then, the doors of the courtroom swung open again, and Charlie returned, flanked by a few supporters. He cleared his throat, emitting a booming voice that filled the room with authority. "This isn't about Coach Marcus. This is about what's best for our community. If they can't see that, we're bound for failure." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Marcus's heart raced, but instead of retreating, he found that fire again. "Charlie!" Marcus called, injecting all the conviction he could muster into his voice. "What we're building isn't just for us but for every child who needs a chance. This program is a lifeline." The tension in the air crackled again. Eyes darted back and forth. The judge eyed the growing dispute, clearly uneasy but intrigued. "Let us hear both sides," the judge finally said, gesturing for calm. "But know this: today is about the children. It's about futures." For the next few hours, they debated. Voices rose and fell like a turbulent sea. Yet with every argument Charlie presented, Marcus felt a deepening resolve within him. "We're not just throwing money at problems. We're investing in lives," he argued passionately, his voice growing steadier with each word. "We teach kids to believe in themselves, to trust in their dreams." As the hours rolled on, more community members bravely spoke, sharing their stories of transformation. A mother recounted how her son had been on a path to nowhere and how Marcus led him to focus on football and academics. They believe they have a future. She shouted, determination ringing in her voice. Marcus could see Charlie getting frustrated, the cracks in his facade beginning to show. The collective voice of hope was growing louder. Yet, a nagging thought tugged at Marcus's mind. The next steps loomed ahead like an unresolved free throw at a buzzer. What if they won this battle but lost sight of the true mission? As the judge prepared to close the proceedings, Marcus felt the tension rise again. He'd need to keep the community united, but how? Turning to the crowd, he raised his voice. Let us keep this energy alive. We can't let fear silence us. Together, we can beat this. They erupted in cheers once more, an unwavering storm of support, but as he stood before the crowd, he felt that familiar chill that had accompanied Charlie. What would happen when the dust settled? Would they still stand united in their mission? As the judge lifted his gavel one last time, Marcus held his breath. Would they find a way forward, or would the shadows lurking outside the courtroom extinguish the light they had built? The gavel struck sharply, reverberating through the court as the judge prepared to deliver the ruling. Marcus's heart pounded, the uncertainty clawing at his insides. He looked at the faces around him, some hopeful, some anxious, but all waiting for the verdict that would shape their future. He could feel Carla's eyes on him, her expression a mixture of trust and fear. Given the overwhelming testimony today, the judge began, his voice steady but heavy with importance. Each syllable seemed to hang in the air like a tightrope, fragile yet tense. I believe we have enough evidence to proceed with establishing a community program. Cheers erupted again, this time uncontrollable and vibrant. It felt as if steam was letting out from a pressure cooker, relief, elation, disbelief, all mingling into one. But just as quickly, the judge raised a hand, silencing the crowd. There was still more to be said. However, the judge continued, eyes scanning the room, this is not without stipulations. We must establish clear guidelines for funding and ensure that this program can be sustainable and equitable. Waves of relief and renewed worry washed over Marcus. While victory was so close, he knew it was a delicate win. Thank you, Your Honor. Marcus shouted, and the room erupted again. He stepped forward, ready to address the crowd. We have a chance, folks. Let us channel this energy towards a framework that uplifts us all. He felt empowered, but the responsibility weighed heavily on his shoulders. How do you ensure hope doesn't fade like a summer sunset? That evening, the community gathered in the park for a celebration. Laughter mingled with the scent of grilled hot dogs and the sound of children playing. Yet, despite the festivities, Marcus felt a gnawing anxiety as he moved through the crowd. Marcus! A familiar voice called. It was Sam, a former player who had turned his life around through the program. He hugged Marcus tightly. You did it, man. I can't believe we've come this far. Yeah, but it's just the beginning, Marcus replied, and a part of him flinched at the weight of that truth. As night fell, Marcus stood on a makeshift stage, the glow of the lights illuminating his face. This moment is not just about today. It's about all our tomorrows. A chorus of cheers followed, but he also saw Charlie lurking at the edge, arms crossed, a storm cloud hanging over that corner of the park. If we truly want to change this community, we need more than a temporary fix, Marcus continued, his voice rising above the chatter, his resolve firm. We must create a program that ensures lasting change, a legacy. The crowd quieted, and some murmured in agreement. His eyes darted back to Charlie, who looked ready to pounce. I can guarantee that this program will bring resources and mentors, but it hinges on the community's ongoing support. We need everyone's voice, every hand. Just then, a commotion broke out a few feet away. A group had gathered, their voices raised in heated argument. Marcus felt his heart drop. He moved quickly to intervene, only to find Charlie in the midst of it all, confronting an older member of their community. This is nonsense. You're wasting time and money on a program that won T last. Haven't you all learned that by now? Charlie's voice dripped with disdain. Hope can't be measured by dollars, Charlie. The older member shot back. It's what our kids deserve. The crowd was divided again, tension thickening like smoke. Marcus could feel the storm brewing, and he needed to act. He raised his hands, desperate to quell the rising anger. We are not enemies, he declared, his voice breaking through the chaos. If we want this to succeed, we have to embrace each other as ideas. Let us not let our fears dictate our future. But as the echo of his words settled, the nagging feeling returned. Could he truly unite everyone? Or would division rent them apart? As night deepened, the question hung in the air. What would it take to build a bridge strong enough to withstand Charlie's relentless onslaught? The crowd buzzed, uncertainty crackling in the cool night air. Marcus felt the weight of their stares, they flickered between hope and despair. He stepped down from the stage, adrenaline surging through him. This was his moment to clarify the path ahead. Everyone, listen, he called, his voice steadying as he captured their attention. Change doesn't come from a single event. It's a journey. Today, we took our first step. But for it to mean anything, we need a plan, actionable ideas, and most importantly, unity. Some heads nodded, yet Charlie remained in the shadows, a vulture waiting for weakness. Marcus approached the argument's origin, where the older member stood with fists clenched, chin up defiantly against the tension. Let us hear each other out, Marcus urged, gazing between Charlie and the elder. Charlie, I understand your fears. We've battled for so long with broken promises. But let us learn from each other instead of tearing each other down. Charlie's jaw tightened. You think compromise is the solution? Look around. Compromise led us here. To a community divided and broken. And standing together can bring us back, Marcus shot back, his voice dipping just enough to soften. We've all been let down. But what if we shifted that energy? We can craft something real. There was a moment of silence, where hope dangled in the balance. The older man stepped forward, eyes softening. Maybe change is possible. But it has to come from the heart. One by one, faces began to turn from distrust to tentative acceptance. Marcus felt the energy shift. Discussion blossomed, replacing bitterness with dialogue. Ideas flowed, everyone eager to participate. It was a fragile connection, but it sparkled, the energy palpable as they dared to dream together. Amid the discussion, a small voice piped up from the back of the crowd. What if we could set up workshops? Teach kids skills that matter. It was a shy girl, barely 10, standing with her mother. The crowd hushed to listen. That's incredible, Marcus said, a smile breaking through. What skills should we focus on? Let us build a list. Hands shot up, soon voices mingled, excitement bubbling within them. He saw Carla near the front, her smile radiant, her belief inspiring others. Could they hold on to this feeling? Charlie still stood back, arms crossed, brows furrowed, but even he couldn't contain a flicker of interest at the ideas bouncing like fireflies in the night. Hours slipped away, laughter mixing with passionate discussions. There was a pulse in the air. Marcus moved closer to the edge where Charlie loomed. Come on, man, join us. Doubt has its place, but it can't overshadow hope. The tension in Charlie's shoulders eased slightly, and Marcus caught him glancing at the unity forming around them. What if it's all just talk? Charlie muttered, though there was less bite, more curiosity. Then it's up to us to make it real. Another voice chimed in. Let us start with small steps. We owe it to the next generation. Marcus felt it pulling him forward, the shared resolve among the crowd. This wasn't just about proving Charlie wrong. It was about shaking hands and lifting each other up, but just as things seemed to stabilize, a loud clap rang through the air, a signal from Charlie. As if he were the conductor of this newfound symphony, he finally stepped forward. Alright, I'll meet you halfway. But if we're doing this, we do it my way. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Could they really trust Charlie to lead? Would they dare pull together under his terms? Fear hung in the air like fog, thickening their resolve. Marcus's heart sank for a moment, then ignited with the weight of responsibility. He had to ask the question that would set the course for their future. What does that mean, Charlie? Under the moonlight, anticipation crackled, and the crowd leaned in. The night felt electric. The next decision could redefine everything or tear them apart once again. What would it take for Charlie to truly understand the power of unity? Would his conditions fracture their newfound hope before it even began? The silence was deafening as Charlie stood there, a storm brewing in his eyes. The crowd waited, bated breath hanging like dew in the cold night air, hope and anxiety battling within them. Marcus could feel the pulse of their expectations, a heavy weight pressing down on his shoulders. Let us hear it, Charlie finally said, his voice steady as he scanned the faces in the crowd. If we're going to move forward, we need clear actions and no more meandering. Here's my plan. He took a breath, crossing his arms tighter, transforming from a reluctant figure to one wielding authority. We need to focus all our effort on a project that demands attention. Something that people can't ignore. A community garden. A shocked murmur rippled through the crowd. It seemed simple, yet the idea held power. Marcus felt something lift within him, the potential blooming just like those plants Charlie proposed to grow. A garden? Someone questioned, the tone wavering between skepticism and intrigue. Not just any garden, Charlie clarified, his tone softening. A garden where everyone can get involved. We can teach kids about sustainability. Bring in the elders to share their wisdom. It can represent growth and unity. Eyes exchanged glances, skepticism slowly being replaced with curiosity. Marcus thought back to the vacant lots scattered throughout the community, each one a testament to decay. That's amazing, Charlie. But we can't stop there, he urged. What about workshops that teach skills alongside it? We should connect all the ideas we had, make it bigger. Charlie's gaze pierced through Marcus, he could see a flicker of interest breaking through the hard exterior. Alright, but the garden is where we start. We'll get our hands dirty and plant something that stands a chance to grow. His words turned the air electric, as he began to outline how the venture could unite not just families but generations. What happens when it's too hard, Charlie? Carla ventured, her voice laced with uncertainty. Then we adapt, he replied, his confidence gaining traction as murmurs of support began spreading. But we have to start somewhere. I know we've messed up in the past, but we can't keep hiding from our challenges. This garden is the first step for all of us. Nods of agreement bounced through the crowd, a new kind of energy thrumming among them. Slowly but surely, cracks in Charlie's facade widened as he allowed vulnerability to seep through. Marcus felt a shared warmth in the connection forming. They weren't merely plotting to create something tangible, they were creating relationships and rebuilding trust. What if it fails? Someone called out from the back, doubt reflecting in their voice. I think we've failed enough times to know that nothing great comes without risk, answered Charlie, his tone firm yet hopeful. But we take that risk together. He glanced at Marcus, an unspoken understanding passing between them. The crowd buzzed again, but this time it was a chorus of encouragement building momentum. People shouted ideas, offering their time, their skills. A locksmith offered to master the gates, a local artist promised murals, and even some writers chimed in with a proposal to document the entire process. As excitement swelled, Marcus felt a rush of optimism, shimmering like light breaking through clouds. Something deeply transformative was taking root. Yet, in Charlie's eyes, Marcus saw the shadow of fear lurking. No matter how much we want to believe, we also have to confront our doubts, Charlie warned. Can you take that first step with us? To be a part of something greater? Marcus replied, pushing against the lingering doubt. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Charlie nodded. All right. Together let us start with this garden. The crowd erupted into cheers, a wave of affirmation surging through them. They stood a little taller, filled with determination and possibility, but as visions of blossom and growth flickered in their minds, Marcus felt a twinge of uncertainty. Could Charlie truly lead them through the darkness into this new light? And if their garden grew, what would happen to the forgotten patches that lingered still, weighing on their hearts? He could already sense the coming challenges, the weeds that might choke their dreams before they could even flourish. The night had begun to cool, but the embers of excitement glowed brightly. Would this be the moment they'd all gone searching for, or would the winds shift again when the initial thrill faded? Questions hung high, waiting for answers only time could unveil. The next day dawned crisp and bright, the sun casting warm rays on the town that had been shrouded in doubt for far too long. As Marcus stepped out of his front door, the smell of fresh earth wafted up from the rows of abandoned lots nearby. Today, he would be among a group of hopeful faces, ready to turn those neglected spaces into something vibrant. There was a palpable buzz in the neighborhood. Word of the community garden had spread like wildfire, igniting interest and anticipation. As Marcus walked toward the gathering point, vibrant posters with slogans like "Grow Together" and "Seeds of Change" lined the streets. He could feel the energy pulsing. It was more than the thrill of a project, it was a feeling of rebirth. When Marcus arrived, the vacant lot was bustling. Families, kids, and eager volunteers were already there, laying plans with bright smiles and hands ready to toil. Charlie stood at the center, surrounded by a small group, his demeanor transformed. Gone was the uncertainty from the night before, replaced by an infectious enthusiasm. He was sketching out plots where vegetables would sprout, and areas for wildflowers that would attract bees, while the community gathered around him. "Okay, everyone. Let's get down to business." Charlie's voice rang out, bright and clear. "We're splitting into teams. I need some of you working on clearing the weeds while others can start planning the layout. Remember, this garden is for us all." Marcus found himself slipping into a role as a leader alongside Charlie. He felt the thrill of purpose, and it was exhilarating. Together, they divided tasks, and soon laughter mixed with the sounds of shovels scraping against dirt resonated through the air. Children dashed about, older folks shared stories, and there was joy where once there had been silence. "Look at this!" a boy named Daniel exclaimed, holding up a piece of brittle paper, barely held together by the strength of his imagination. "I drew the layout. We can have sunflowers over here and tomatoes over there." The child's enthusiasm was infectious. Marcus couldn't help but smile as he glanced at Charlie, who looked genuinely proud. This was the kind of leadership he had envisioned, a shared dream taking root in their hands, yet amidst the laughter, shadows lingered in the corners of his mind. What had they done to deserve this after so many missed opportunities? Would imperfections in their plans lead to disappointment like in the past? His heart raced as he pushed these thoughts down. Today was for hope. As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in hues of gold and orange, they paused for a moment, taking in the work they had accomplished. The plot that had felt like a battleground of weeds now held promise, a blank canvas waiting for life. Charlie took a step back, wiping the sweat from his brow, his expression a mix of exhaustion and thrill. "Look at us," he said, his voice just above a whisper. "We're really doing this together," Marcus added, feeling the weight of their shared effort. Outside this space, among the weeds and streets, existed hidden scars. Here, they had started to heal. But Marcus's inner voice questioned if it would last. Would they continue to nurture this connection when challenges arose? That night, under a canopy of stars, Charlie gathered everyone for a final reflection. It was a moment where their hearts beat as one, each person sharing their hopes and fears regarding the garden, but resolutely answering every doubt with plans for the future. Then someone raised a question that dangled in the air: what if we lose our spirit as time goes on? Silence fell like a curtain. Charlie looked around, his dark eyes scanning his friends, searching for strength in their vulnerability. "Then we remind each other why we started," he replied solemnly. "We keep each other accountable. This is no longer just about a garden, it's about who we are." Marcus's heart swelled. He felt the bond tightening, uniting them against their fears. Yet beneath that warmth, another unsettling thought nudged at him. What challenges lurked in the corners of their community, ready to undermine their progress? Could something threaten this fragile unity before it even had the chance to bloom? The questions hung heavier than the night air. As they turned to their tasks, he couldn't shake the feeling that the real work had just begun. Would their small victories grow into a legacy, or would the weeds of the past catch up with them? In the silence that followed, he realized one undeniable truth: no matter how much they planned, true growth always arrived with its own set of risks. And the battle was far from over. The next morning broke with a brisk wind and a sense of potential hanging in the air. As Marcus woke, he felt a mixture of excitement and anxiety bubbling within him. The community garden had exceeded all expectations, but now the real challenge awaited. They had laid the groundwork, but keeping the momentum alive? That was the real test. With fresh coffee steaming in his cup, he flipped through his notes, plans for the next phase, workshops on sustainable gardening, maybe even events to bring in the local crowd. As he mentally rehearsed, he couldn't ignore the flicker of doubt creeping back in. What if the thrill faded? The laughter of the previous day echoed in his mind like a sweet melody, but how long before it turned to silence again? He decided to head to the garden. Stepping outside, he noticed posters still decorating the streets, but today they looked a bit more weathered, flapping slightly as the wind rustled them. They were reminders of their triumphs, yet also warnings that nothing lasts forever. When he arrived at the garden, the scene was vibrant. A few kids raced around with watering cans, while others experimented with gardening tools like it was a scavenger hunt for treasures buried deep in the soil. Marcus felt a sense of responsibility swirl around him. These young souls saw the garden as a playground, an adventure. "Hey, Marcus!" called Daniel, bubbling with energy. "We found worms. Can we keep them in our little bug hotel?" His eyes were sparkling with innocent curiosity. "Sure. Every worm counts." Marcus couldn't help but chuckle. The boy's enthusiasm was contagious. If only adults could channel that same joy, the world might bloom in unexpected ways. As the group gathered for a quick briefing, Charlie stepped up, a bright smile plastered on his face. "Today, we're planting seeds. I want everyone to find a spot that speaks to you, one that makes you feel a part of this place." His words danced in the air, igniting a spark of excitement in the crowd, yet the shadow of doubt still lurked in Marcus's heart. While everyone was engaged, he found himself lingering at the edges, silently questioning whether their effort was just a fleeting moment. He noticed a few community members standing apart, exchanging whispers. They looked skeptical, as if unsure about this entire endeavor. He approached them, wanting to bridge the gap. "Hey! What are your thoughts? We want to hear from everyone." One of the older men, Mr. Thompson, met his gaze. "It's beautiful what you're all doing, but let us be real, Marcus. This isn't going to change overnight. How do you keep us together when the novelty fades?" The question struck like a sudden storm, making Marcus's heartbeat race. Their community had seen too many good intentions die out in mere weeks, another garden lost among overgrown weeds of disinterest. "We keep showing up," he managed to say, though his voice lacked the conviction he hoped to convey. "We make it an ongoing thing, share our meals, celebrate our harvests." But as the words left his mouth, doubt hung thick. Would it be enough? The sun reached its zenith as they began planting. Laughter erupted from toddlers purging weeds while older folks shared gardening tricks. Still, Marcus felt a rift, threads of uncertainty weaving back into the fabric of their unity. A sudden shout drew everyone's attention. A little girl waved her hand, triumphantly holding up a freshly sprouted seedling. "Look what I made grow!" she cried, innocence radiating from her. The crowd erupted in cheers. For a fleeting moment, the weight of his worries lifted. Maybe, just maybe, today was the first step towards something enduring. Still, the doubt nipped at the edges of his mind. What if today was just a bright shallow flash, fading as winter approached? As the sun began to set, painting the horizon with strokes of orange and pink, Marcus took a deep breath. He had to admit, the garden had indeed become more than dirt and seeds. It was a hope, fragile but tangible. But was it enough to keep them together when fall meant change? He felt a resolve stirring within him. They had to keep the flame burning bright, through both seasons and storms. But deep down, he knew the biggest challenges were still to come. Just then, a loud clash echoed from the distance, shattering the cheerful ambience. Curious eyes turned, and hearts raced as a whistle blew in the air. What was that? Someone whispered, the concern rapid in their voices. It felt like a harbinger, disruption lurking just beyond their garden gates. Would it derail their unity? Even as the sun set, Marcus felt that the answers would demand everything they had. The next day dawned crisp and bright, filled with an electric energy that seemed to echo the hope hung in the air. As Marcus stepped outside, the community garden buzzed with activity, a kaleidoscope of colors unfurling among the soil. It wasn't just about plants, it was about people reclaiming joy, forging deeper connections, and rewriting their narrative together. Marcus arrived to find the familiar chorus of laughter and chatter as families gathered for the weekly planting day. A group of children had claimed a corner, their faces smeared with dirt and smiles wide as they organized seedlings for planting. With each passing day, he felt the weight of uncertainty lift just a bit more. "Hey, Coach Marcus!" shouted young Daniel, sprinting toward him. "Look what we planted. Can we make a vegetable stand?" "Absolutely." Marcus chuckled, ruffled Daniel's hair. "Let's get everyone involved." Just as they began planning, the community center doors creaked open, and Charlie stepped out, a confident stride in his walk. "Hey everyone, can I have your attention?" he called, and the kids' chatter quieted. "We've got some news to share. We've been invited to take part in the county fair with our garden." A wave of excitement washed over the crowd. Gasps were heard, a flurry of questions erupted. What about flowers? What can we plant? A community presence at the fair would mean exposure not just for the garden but for the people behind it. "Let us showcase our hard work," Marcus exclaimed, his own excitement building. "We can set up a booth and share our story." Silently, he felt weight lift. This could be the platform to help educate others about their journey. As they squealed, jumped, and made plans, Marcus noticed a figure lingering at the edge of the crowd. It was Mr. Thompson, arms crossed, wearing an expression of skepticism. Marcus felt compelled to approach him. "Hey, Mr. Thompson. What do you think?" Marcus asked, trying to keep his excitement at bay. "Seems ambitious," Mr. Thompson replied, raising an eyebrow. "But will it last? You seem to gather for a bit and then—" He trailed off, the doubt hanging in the air. Undeterred, Marcus met his gaze. "We've planted more than seeds here. We've planted trust and unity. This garden is just the beginning, a way to keep fostering connection, sharing meals, and helping each other." But Marcus's heart sank as he saw a flicker of doubt in Mr. Thompson's eyes. No sooner had he turned away than a loud shout pierced the air, instantly drawing the crowd's focus. "Hey! You can't be here!" A voice blared as Charlie rushed to the garden's entrance, where a couple of men stood with angry faces, brandishing picket signs that read, "No Community Garden." Fear washed over Marcus. "What's happening?" he murmured, stepping closer to the commotion. "We're here to shut down this misguided project that doesn't represent our values," one man hollered. "Who are you to dictate our needs?" Charlie challenged, standing firm beside Marcus. The atmosphere shifted, tension rising sharply. It felt like a dam closing in on them. Marcus's heart raced as uncertainty clawed at his chest. He needed to protect what they'd built. "Everyone, listen," Marcus called out, voice steady despite the chaos. "This garden isn't just ours. It's for every child, every family. It's a place of hope, and we can't let fear dictate our resolve." The murmurs of dissent lingered, the faces shifting from anger to contemplation. There was a silence just long enough for Marcus to take a breath. "We're here together. Let us talk this out. This is for all of us. How can we build something that embraces everyone?" Charlie nodded, stepping in. "We're not asking you to like it, but give us a chance to showcase what a united community can accomplish." The men hesitated, glancing at the crowd, feeling the weight of their words. Seeing their community visibly rally around Marcus and Charlie shifted the tone of the confrontation. Passion ignited a response from others. "We started this garden to bring light back into our lives and bring our kids hope," a woman added, her voice cutting through the tension. "How can you disagree with that?" It was a pivotal moment. One man shifted uncomfortably, guilt etched upon his features. "Fine," the leader grudgingly replied, "but just remember, if it fails, we're holding you accountable." "Understood," Marcus replied, feeling a wave of gratitude wash over him. "But I promise you, we'll succeed together. That's the essence of this garden." The crowd erupted in cheers, unified and alive. This was not just the first victory against doubt, it solidified their resolve to continue fighting for their vision. As the confrontation faded into a distant memory, the evening sun dipped below the horizon, draping the garden in golds and purples. It felt like a new dawn for the community, a reminder that their roots could withstand even the harshest storms. Marcus, watching families work side by side, felt a swell of pride. They weren't just planting seeds, they were planting the essence of hope in their hearts, with the promise of a different tomorrow. He turned to Charlie and smiled. "Thanks for standing with me. Together, we can achieve anything." "Always, man," Charlie replied, grinning back. "We're on the right path, let us keep it going." And in that moment, in the midst of shared laughter and hard work, Marcus knew, this was only the beginning of their story, sewn in the fabric of renewed faith and community. As night crept in, they gathered together under the stars, a celebration vibrating in their hearts. They had crafted their legacy, a symbol of what unity could achieve. And as plans began for the county fair, one undeniable truth emerged: no obstacle was too great, no doubt was insurmountable when they chose to thrive together. Don't wait any longer to join this amazing journey. You need to subscribe to the channel now so you won't miss the next chapter of our incredible stories. Your support matters more than ever. Leave a like now to boost the algorithm and share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, let us inspire everyone.